Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the review of one of the lamest pack-in games of all time, Keith Courage in Alpha Zones. Before the Nintendo Wii, gamers probably forgot that consoles used to come with a game packed in. This game normally was a showcase to impress people with the system's capabilities. None of this happened with Keith Courage, an average at best platform game that, aside from a beautiful color palette, shows off nothing that would make a non-turbo owner want to own a turbo, or a turbo owner want to keep his turbo. The storyline is this. The planet of Bad, which stands for Beastly Alien Dudes, wants to take over the world. You play as Keith Courage, a member of NICE, Nations of International Citizens for Earth. Yep, you heard correctly. Bad and nice. Keith's goal is to reach the Robo Zone and keep these bads from taking over Earth and the world itself. Now, the Japanese version of Keith Courage is actually based on a popular anime about a 9-year-old boy out to save a magical realm of the gods. I'm sure this game would play much better. The US version of the story doesn't. The game is split into two different areas, the overworld and the underworld. In the overworld, you are equipped with a puny sword, go around killing strange little enemies, do a few platforming things, and buy items or talk to friends. The underworld allows you to wear the Nova suit, transforming you into half-man, half-mechanical monster. These stages include more platforming, but with end bosses and a slightly faster pace. Now, come along with me as we rewind to 1989. The TurboGrafx system is launched, and you pick one up for yourself. You open the Keith Courage jewel case, admire the unique small design of the cartridge, take a quick peek at the comic book they included with the game, then pop the TurboChip into the system with absolute excitement. The title screen begins right away. Okay. You begin the game, and well, right off the bat you are slightly impressed with the awesome colors, which are obviously a step up from the console you had before. The first stage seems a bit goofy and kinda strange, and your character moves extremely slow. But you go indoors, talk to some people, it's kinda cool. You do notice, though, that the sounds are a little weak. The music is a bit annoying, and what's that jump and land sound effect? Is that supposed to impress me? Really? The control is okay, but jumping is a bit weird, and you can't move in midair, so you're pretty much screwed. Then a rainbow appears, and you get sucked up and transformed into a robot. Now we're talking. The music pumps up a bit. The sound effects seem better, and the graphics slightly more interesting. I mean, who doesn't like an enemy with a gun on his head wearing sunglasses? Anyone? Anyone? Didn't think so. You get to the first boss, and the background is kind of cool. You defeat him without much trouble, but remind yourself it's only the first stage. You're whisked away, and you start stage 2. The gameplay slows down again. Everything is pretty much the same. This is your first impression of Keith Courage, and it's also your last impression of Keith Courage. In the overworld stages, it really doesn't change much at all. Sometimes the game tosses in enemies upside down, volcanoes, and ice stages that look kinda cool, but otherwise stages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 look almost identical to one another. Talking to people and buying items is fun for the first stage, then it becomes tedious. The manual refers to these people as friends. Well, let me just say that the weapons master friend of yours is a rip-off artist. His stuff is way overpriced. I mean, come on, the Alpha Sword for $9,600? Ha! Some friend he is. The good news is that the enemies respawn, a la Ninja Gaiden. So you just stand outside the shop, kill enough enemies over and over, and collect the coins you need. The underworld stages don't have much variety either. Stage 2 looks like the first with slightly altered colors. At least the enemies are a bit different. Otherwise, the graphics are generally plain. Some enemies return with just recolored sprites. While multiple hits can be had by Keith Courage, one fall into a spiked pit means instant death. The game's difficulty does ramp up a bit as it goes on, and you'll get bombarded by enemies in later levels. But the bosses have patterns that are easy to distinguish, and only the final boss did I have to repeat. The Unlimited continues, though, guarantee that you'll beat the game eventually. These other flaws aside, the biggest issue with Keith Courage is the lack of variation. The stages all look and seem the same with just slightly ramped up difficulty. Why NEC would pick Keith Courage over other launch titles that might have been better pack-ins I'll never understand. I mean, one stands out right away and would have been a perfect choice. Ever hear of it? Considered even today as one of the best games on the system? An awesome shooter for its time? Hello, McFly? Anybody home? Huh? Think, NEC. Think. The TurboGrafx deserved a better fate in America than being shoved in the background as the Genesis and eventually Super Nintendo took over in the early 90s. NEC's decision to pack this game in was a poor one and put the first nail in the coffin right from the start. It's an okay, average platform game. As a kid, I liked it a little, but could sense its lack of variety and spice even back then. The fact that it was used to showcase the Turbo also knocks it down a notch in the ratings. I just can't recommend it. Sorry, Keith. Off to bed with you.